Hi folks, if you watched my last video, you'll know that my mom passed away last week on Valentine's Day 2024. This is the second video about an art project that involves a facet of her life that was really important to her, and that's the Nebraska Cornhusker football team. My mom was a rabid Cornhusker fan, a season ticket holder. She had a shrine of Cornhusker stuff in her house and in her apartment. She loved watching games and going to games and taking people to games and things like that. I found about 9 months ago or so, shortly before we moved her into a memory unit, I found a box of tickets that she had kept from pretty much every game that she ever went to. I thought, why let those languish in a box? And instead, I'll make a collage out of them. So this actual video was shot quite some time ago, and I didn't quite know what to do with it at the time, but it seems appropriate as part of a kind of tribute to her to share this with y'all now. So I hope you enjoy it. Thanks. Today's project involves these. And what this is a collection of Nebraska Cornhusker football tickets that range from kind of the late 80s through the mid 2000s. And there are, dozens of them, regular games, bowl games, all that kind of stuff. And so what I'm going to do is arrange them. I've been thinking about this a lot. You could think, well, I could arrange them in chronological order. But there's so many that then I thought maybe I could group them by teams that they played, but there's a lot of outliers. And so ultimately kind of what I came to the conclusion of is that I'm going to just kind of pick the ones that look cool. And that's how I'm going to approach this, more so than trying to order them in some way. And so this is going to be about that. I've been through these a couple times and I have some ideas, but they're not written in stone, so to speak. So I'm going to start off and just kind of sort through some things and we'll see what we can get. There's also some baseball tickets scattered in here, which I don't think I want. It's something that doesn't really fit with this. So I'll sort those out as we go. But kind of something to think about with this is that, again, this is stuff. My mom had these in a box. She's a huge Cornhusker fan and went to, every game and some bowl games, and these are her tickets. And so what I thought I could do is sort these out and make them into something and then give that to her, and it might spark some memory or something like that. And it'd be fun for me to do. So let's see, where do we start? So we have these big ones, that are not always bowls, but sometimes. Here's 2 Cotton Bowl tickets from 2007. Big 12 championship game when we were in the Big 12 back in the day. We used to be kind of good. And there's some of them that have pictures on them and they're kind of interesting. And then there's some, like these are small, compared to what they were later. Of course, now you don't get paper tickets. I think this is the last year you could actually ask for them, which is kind of fine with me, but, I understand. So anyway, there's all kinds of stuff in here. There's another baseball ticket. I don't need that and that and that. There's a sticker, which is kind of neat, but don't need that. This looks like not really sure what that is. Don't need that, but like this is cool. That's neat. There's a lot of stuff in here that's pretty cool. So I'm gonna, off camera, kind of sort out these really quickly and pick out the ones that I think look best, and then we'll go over them and talk about how to arrange them. This is what I decided to take out. Kind of, there's a couple things, you know, that I use as kind of criteria here. Like, this is a football card. Obviously, it doesn't belong with these tickets. We got a spring game ticket here, and then a baseball. A couple of them, like this one, is really beat up, and I don't think it really, you know, fits as well. And then a couple more baseball. I got a parking ticket. It's funny. And then we've got, you know, a couple of pictures of coaches that shall not be named, that my mother is not a huge fan of. So we're going to pull those out and not use those. And so then I sorted them into kind of by size and type in a way. So these are just regular season tickets, and they're big ones. So we got Kansas and Pittsburgh and Texas Tech. And then these are kind of cool, so I want to try to use them. And then we've got these Big 12 championships, different things like that, kind of neat. These kinds of tickets, which are all, again, home games. Did have one road game in here for this Notre Dame, and I think there's an Iowa State one too in here somewhere. And so that's kind of a neat thing to use. There's the oldest one I had in here. Oh, here it is right here. Nebraska versus Kansas, November 16th, 1985. $15 to get into that. It's a little bit more pricey these days. So kind of a nice deal. That's kind of what I'm going to do. And then I kind of have to play around with them a little bit to see, you know, how they fit together and what size this will end up being. In the interim minute, I went and printed off a picture of this arrangement. So I've laid all these out kind of in a way that seems to make sense to me as far as shapes and pictures more than anything else. But there are some gaps in it. And so first off, obviously, if I want to put them back in anything like this sort of order, you know, I'm going to need a plan. So I printed off a picture that gives me a basic spatial situation there. I've also, you can see, I've kind of outlined the spaces with some pencil, and that will help me to identify those spots. Now, here's the thing, like those empty spots aren't going to, there's really no tickets that are going to fit in there. And so what I thought I'd do is repurpose some of those old ones that are hiding around the corner there, cut some pieces out of those and put those in those spots. And then also, I've got some pictures of my mom and the stadium and family and stuff going to games. And I thought I could cut those out and kind of have people peeking through in some spots too. So that might be fun. So that's kind of the next step, is to kind of trim these up a little bit. There's a couple of them I can cut some pieces off of, cut up some of the other ones to have the little things kind of peeking through, and figure out where to put these pictures. This is what I've done so far to fill in those gap places. And I know there's going to be overlap, but you can see, like, I've cut up some tickets and some of the pictures that I printed out. So those will kind of fill in the gaps between the tickets. And I didn't use everything, but I thought it was a nice selection of things. So the next step is to start to put back the tickets. Obviously, this ended up being a lot bigger than I was initially planning. I was kind of thinking of like maybe 11 by 14. And obviously this got a little out of hand, but who cares? It'll be fun. So next step is to start putting down the tickets. Now we're ready to start putting down the tickets, and So I kind of pulled them off in more or less kind of order. And this isn't ever going to be a perfect thing, but the goal is to just try to get it more or less like the plan that I printed out earlier. So anyway, I've got my diabolically strong glue, and I'll move these a little bit back so that I don't get glue on them. And quite obviously, I'm not worried about this table at all. So let's go ahead and get started. And when you're working with this glue, it's, like I said, it dries really quickly. And so you wanna get down and get it on there. This one. And then we had this one. And obviously I'm gonna have to make some small changes to what I'm trying to do based on the fact that I added these pictures. You don't want to cover up anybody's faces or anything. So keep working our way up. Here's where we stand now. And so I've got some gaps still. They're not excessive, but we've done a pretty good job of fitting in most of these things. So now what am I going to do to fill in those gaps? And I think, whoops, sorry about that. Make sure you can see everything. So I've got some of these other pieces left, like this Arizona State ticket, this UCLA ticket. Interesting story. My mom, for some reason, absolutely hates UCLA, and probably because of her resentment towards Troy Aikman. She doesn't like Troy Aikman. It's a long-running thing, but she does really like the show NCIS, and so I had to tell her that Mark Harmon actually played quarterback for UCLA way back in the day, and that he had beaten Nebraska during one of his starts, I think his first start. And so that was very disappointing to her. So let's see what we can do to fill in some of these gaps. And I think that's a good spot. Put that one right there. Get this UCLA ticket. So now we got this gap here, this here. Little gap here, this, interesting. Got a gap here, got a gap here, got a gap here, 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 and here, and a little bit there, and a little bit there. So, interesting. Let's see. You know, what would be kind of funny is that, yeah, there we go. If you have ever been to Nebraska, you know that Runza is kind of a thing here. Almost all tickets have these coupons for Runza on the back of them. At least the older ones did. Squeezing in a few of those would be kind of funny. It's done. I got a few little things left to do, like trim up some edges, and I've got to spray it with a coat of varnish, but otherwise, I think it's a wrap. Yeah, if you're thinking about doing this kind of thing, you know, again, you know, kind of like the last kind of collage piece that I did. This stuff is just laying around. It was just, in an old hat box sitting on a dresser, and otherwise it would never be anything. Having an emotional attachment to this, which I do. I've been to a lot of these games, most of them with her, seen a lot of football with her over the years. And, in the rough times during our relationship, which I think most people have with their parents at some point or another, this was something we could do. We haven't been able to do that for some time because of her dementia and other problems. That's a struggle. And so it is an emotional object, these things. And they bring back memories of games that I went to with her and games that I've seen and the futility of Nebraska football lately, which hopefully is going to turn around. But also some really great times and also freezing cold, because it can get really cold at Nebraska football games. But anyway, a lot of memories, a lot of stuff imbued in this. But what purpose does it serve if these things are sitting in a box somewhere in pristine shape, or if I put them in a book or something? I mean, whatever works for you, I think is important. Is this art? I don't know. Does it matter? Does it have an emotional impact on people who see it? Perhaps. It does for me, and that's really the important thing, is that for me, this kind of thing and art in general is a process of, I'm processing things through my art. This is part of that. It's making something that allows me to kind of work through some of that behind the scenes, so to speak, in my brain, which might sound a little weird, but it's the truth. Coming to grips with that over the past many years has been really important, because I do need to process things that are happening. And this is part of that. Other types of art that I've done reflect that as well. Is it craft? Is it art? Again, who cares? If it makes you happy, do it. There aren't any rules about what you can use or how you can do it. I hope that you've enjoyed this. And if you like this sort of thing, hit the like button, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.